And we also appreciate our friend Jay Croucher, one of the best betting minds in the media or just people in general. Does great work for our friends at NBC Sports. I said it throughout the playoffs. Some people mistakenly think, it's not their fault, that Mike Tirico's the star of NBC Sports. I'll tell you what, Mike Tirico's not doing stand-ups next to Carmelo Anthony. Our friend Jay Croucher with us here on the show at Croucher JD. What's going on, my friend? How are you?
Good, Nick. Thanks for the intro. Yeah, actually, I was working on the US Open broadcast on the weekend for NBC, and I got to interview Mike Torico. In that interview, it really reinforced that he is substantially better at his job and what he does than my job and what I do, even if I'm the one who technically gets to do the stand-ups with Carmelo.
So take us through, because I didn't watch. Not the biggest golf guy. No offense. I don't love golf. So take us through that interview. Like, what was your preparation for it? Were you nervous, etc.?
I'm not really nervous. I've met Mike before, but the thing that I took away is just what kind of a level of a savant he is, where we're doing the interview. It's on a Zoom link. He's at the course. I'm in the studio in Stanford. And
it's live or taped?
It's live. So it's me and Jordan Cornette, and we're interviewing Mike and trading questions going back and forth. And so it's us in like 3 boxes to the left of the screen, and then we're just playing golf. But we're talking to Mike about everything about golf. But as he's giving his answers, he's lapsing into very advanced play-by-play of what he's looking at in terms of the golf that we haven't asked him about. So yeah, his mind just operates at a different level. He's obviously a great orator. I think he's got, 100% approval rating for everyone who follows what he does. And so, yeah, it's just, he is the best. He is the standard.
Well, I think you're the standard when it comes to interviews of the ilk that we're about to do right now. So we can get specific, we can get micro. Let's start with macro. What is your biggest betting takeaway, even if you have a strong one, coming out of the first round last night of the NBA draft?
Yeah, I think it's interesting. It largely went chalk for the first 7 picks or so. So I don't really have any changed opinions. I think that my macro takeaway overall is that I think the Thunder and the Spurs just continue to really distance themselves. I think
you agree with me. You agree with me with the opinion that
so.
I gave, right?
Yeah, I think so. And I think that the fact that Giannis didn't go to Boston is just a huge win, really for the entire league and the East as well, but really the Thunder and the Spurs. So I think those 2 teams, as you go into next season, they are just a tier above everyone else. And obviously the Knicks just beat the Spurs, but when you look at just the aging profiles, I would have the Spurs ahead of the Knicks for championship equity going forward. And the fact that the Celtics don't become this, not necessarily a super team, but a super team adjacent by adding Giannis, I think just puts the Thunder and the Spurs in even better position. The Thunder being able to get, a Daimaro, who people are talking about them maybe needing to trade up to get him at 12 seems like a perfect fit. Now, right now, the Thunder, they have 16 players on the roster. They're going to have to make some changes. They can't live in the current cap world that they're living in, but I don't think those changes are really going to hurt them on the court that much this year. I think it's going to be stuff like, moving off of Thomas Sorber or Isaiah Joe. Maybe Topic gets traded. I think the worst case scenario for them in terms of on the court is maybe they decline the option on Lou Dort and he doesn't come back. But Lou Dort is like the 8th best player on the team at this point. So I think the Thunder are rightful title favorites at the moment.
And I mean, and I said this last hour, right? Is Sam Presti the Howie Roseman of the NBA, or is Howie Roseman the Sam Presti of the NFL? Because, I know you know this. Kind of under the radar move because they can't afford to pay everybody. And Aaron Wiggins is a good player. He can't crack the rotation, which is more about OKC than it is about Wiggins. They trade him to Atlanta for 2 second-round picks. Great trade for the Hawks. Then they trade 2 second-round picks for Bennett Sturtz, and it's like, how the hell did this just happen? They're unbelievable.
Yeah, that's the thing. I was talking about this with someone yesterday in relation to the Celtics. So I think, I'd say the Celtics and the Thunder are probably the 2 best organizations at the moment. And just the fact that when you're projecting out these teams and what they're going to look like next season, you kind of have to bake in that between just how good the organization is, how good the coaching staff is that they're just going to continue to win around the margins and develop these kind of Aaron Wiggins type players that you're going to get another Neemias Cater type story with the Celtics, and just have such faith in those two teams. It's like with the Eagles. Like if the Eagles take Cooper DeJean early in the draft, he's probably just going to be really good straight away. That kind of stuff you just have to bake in with these really good organizations. Now, it's never 100% probability. Sometimes they're going to strike out. Sometimes you're not going to get the development stories. But I think those teams, just given their track records, they're so much more likely than other teams. And it's going to be interesting with the Spurs, who, go into the season as basically joint title favorites in the market. I think they're a good organization. I don't think they've demonstrated themselves to be at the level of a Boston or Oklahoma City. And they're going to have to win around the margins because they just came. Now, I know they were ahead of schedule, but they went into that finals without a power forward on the roster, basically. And they're going to have to really kind of mold around the edges to win and close or extend the gap on OKC and the rest.
If I gave you $100, which I won't do, I have to buy a house. But I gave you $100 and said, BetMGM does not have these markets up. I understand other sportsbook do, so I will not read the odds. But you can probably figure out what the odds are for Rookie of the Year, and I'm sure you're familiar with it. And even if you don't want to give a price, you know the general ranges. Who would you bet right now to win Rookie of the Year in the NBA?
Yeah, odds agnostic, I'd take Cam Boozer. I think there's a couple of things. One, Darren Peterson is going to be on a very crowded, high-usage team in Utah. Also, AJ DeBance is going to a place where he's going to have Trae Young and Anthony Davis soaking up usage. Cam Boozer is going to be on a team with, I'm not sure if Ja Morant is going to be on that team. Even if he is, like the other guys in that starting lineup, they're just not very high usage. And the other thing, too, is that Cam Boozer, I think he was the most productive player of the top guys in college. The advanced stats absolutely adore Cam Boozer. He's also the youngest of that group as well. So I think that he is the best positioned. And he's also going to get just a lot of runway on that team. Memphis don't have any aspirations to be contending for, playoffs really, let alone doing anything in the playoffs. So I think Cam Boozer is probably the safest bet of those guys. But the good thing about this draft is that, there are guys like Michael Brown, like Darius Acuff, who could come from the clouds, just given the runway they're going to get on bad teams to put up big stats. But I think Boozer is just better than those guys, and I think he's going to get the runway as well. So odds agnostic, he would be my choice.
Will the Washington Wizards or Utah Jazz, or both or neither, make the postseason this year? And however you want to define postseason, play-in, top 8, etc.
Yeah, I don't think either team will be in the top 8. I think the East is surprisingly competent in depth. I don't think there's a lot of high-end teams outside of the Knicks and the Celtics in terms of winning the championship. But I do think the fact that, you're going to have teams like Orlando, Toronto, Atlanta competing for 7-8 seeds. Like those teams are pretty good for the 7-8 seed type of world. And just the depth with, the Pacers, the Cavs, the Pistons, the Heat, all of a sudden, I think that you're just pushing out further and further where you're going to need injuries for a team like Washington to be able to creep into the top 8. I think Utah have a better chance of making the playoffs than Washington does, but I think that team, the fit is still a little bit awkward just with having, 3 of your 5 best players basically being 7 foot or thereabouts is just kind of a strange roster construction. And look, they're not trying to win a championship this year, so that doesn't matter. But in terms of just on the court, I do think they have a little while to go. So individually, I think both are odds against to make the playoffs. I think Utah would have a better shot than Washington, though I don't really know what Washington is doing. I don't know. I understand why Trae Young gets 4 years, $212 million with a player option on the final year. That makes no sense to me whatsoever, but they seem to believe in the guy, but I don't think they're going to be a playoff team.
Yeah, I said this yesterday. Spoiler alert for everybody. Trae Young will be picking up that player option in year 4. Like, we could fast forward there now.
I mean, actually, right? It's a funny kind of thing to price. Like, he's going to be,
off the
greater
board.
Than 90%. Yeah.
I mean, you wouldn't be able to bet it, right?
Yeah, he will be picking up that player option. That's like the Bradley Beal player option. Ironically signed by the Wizards. Nick, can I ask you a question? Why don't you like the Bucks trade return for Giannis? What do you think what's wrong with it?
So a number of things. The first thing I would say is I think they mismanaged this for a really long time, and you've been coming on the show for a long time. You know my opinion. It felt like this had drawn to a conclusion a long time ago, and the Bucks really made their first error last summer with the stretch and wave of Damian Lillard and then signing Miles Turner, like trying to kind of half measure this together. It was never going to happen, and then it doesn't happen, obviously. You could have traded him potentially at the deadline and gotten more. You wait and you drag it out literally until the last second. The owner kind of sets this deadline, and then you're basically kind of forced to meet it, backed into a corner. You have two offers that I think are substandard. I don't like the Boston offer either, but at least with Jaylen Brown, you get a star. Like, you get a star with Jaylen Brown. With Miami, I like Tyler Herro. I like Jaime Jaquez. I think Yakachonis could be good. I like Kel'el Ware. You get some of these draft picks. Obviously, last night we'll see if Nate Amen turns out to be anything. The rest of the picks aren't until 2030. Where's the superstar? Where's the path forward here? Unless you want to tell me that Amen and Braden Burries are both going to be tremendous, I would have rather had the guy that I know is a star, who's under contract for 3 more years in Jaylen Brown, than roll the dice, basically, with like 5 or 6 players. We have no idea if any of them are going to be great. You play fantasy football, right? Like, you do the show for NBC. I said yesterday, this is like you trade Jamar Chase for Xavier Worthy, Cam Scadaboo, and Hunter Henry. And it looks great because you got 3 players, and then you set your lineup and you're projected to lose by 30. How about this? I'll ask you a question, Saucy Aussie. Why do you like it?
So I'd say 2 main things. Well, one, I agree that the Bucks have mismanaged the situation, but I think they mismanaged it more in the team they tried to build around Giannis than the way they got out. In terms of the 2 trade packages, I think I'm lower on Jaylen Brown than pretty much anyone. I think he's, one of the most overrated players in the league. I think that Jaylen Brown does.
Would you like to reiterate your Jaylen take from before?
I would rather have Jaylen Duren going forward than Jaylen Brown, because I think that Jaylen Brown, that's an age thing. Jaylen Duren's 7 years younger than Jaylen Brown, but the thing with Jaylen Brown is that
average 7 points per game in the playoffs, so we have some symmetry there.
He's got to be better. He's got to work in the offseason to improve his complete disaster of a playoffs. But the thing with Jaylen Brown is I think he does all the things well that people overrate, which is score in isolation, dribble a lot, make tough shots, guard really well on the ball. And he doesn't do the things that people don't prize as much as they should, which is make quick decisions, be a good passer, focus more on spacing the floor, guard more off the ball. And I think that at his age, he is so dependent on his athleticism, on his speed, on his bounce, that I think that the cliff is coming. And I think that Brad Stevens knows that. That's why Jaylen Brown just finished 6th in MVP, and Brad Stevens is trying to trade him now because I think he understands that. So I would have chosen the Miami package over Jaylen Brown, just because you have Jaylen Brown.
Does that mean you like the Miami package? But does that mean, okay, so let's take, so you prefer the Miami package to the Boston package because you think Jaylen Brown's a little low, but it's a reasonable opinion to have. Does that mean you like the Miami package?
I don't love it. I just don't think it was offensive. Yeah, I like it more. And also, here's the thing. Here's the way I would look at it. There's 2 things here. So I think it's a good business to be in, betting against the Heat in this new lottery reform world, where I think that this team is now extremely top-heavy. Giannis is a big injury risk. And if he gets hurt, then that pick could, I think, the picks that they're going to get and the swap that they have, those could be, lottery picks that with the new reform, you don't need the Heat to bottom out to be a 17-win team to get a potential top 3 pick. You just need them to be a lottery team. And I think that those worlds could develop over the next few years with the 2 picks that they have and the swap. They also got pick 13. And then the way I would look at it is, okay, the players they got, none of them especially exciting individually, but Tyler Herro will fetch a first from someone. He is a good player. A team like the Pistons will trade a first for Tyler Herro. Yakachonis was picked 20 in the draft last year. I think he is still a first-round talent. Kel'el Ware was picked 15 2 years ago. He is still, I think, valued like a first-rounder. Jaime Jaquez, whatever, but he finished 2nd and 6th man of the year. He's a fine player. And also you get off the Bobby Portis contract, which is terrible. So I think if you look at it, it's not like they got 3 picks and a swap and then just like a bunch of nothing players. It's more like they really got 6 to 7 first-round picks of value. Now, they're not great. Are you
listening to what you're saying? You are contorting yourself like you're Cirque du Soleil right now. They got 6 first. No, they didn't. The 6 first-round picks.
Yakachonis and Ware are first-rounders. Those guys have first-round value. Tyler Herro has first-round value. You could trade those guys for a first-round pick. Now, they're not great first-round picks. They're mid to late firsts. So I get it. It's not like your typical get absolutely everything. But I just don't think this is a terrible return for a guy who's going to be 32, has dealt with a lot of injury issues, can't shoot, is really dependent on his athleticism, and I don't think he's going to age.
All right, now we're slamming Giannis? Is that where we're at now? Did we reach this portion of the interview?
I think the league speaks for itself with what the league offered for Giannis. Like, they didn't have amazing offers. The league doesn't value Giannis that much. Like, I'm guessing that the Blazers were keeping Denny Avdija out of Giannis packages. Like, I just don't think that this guy at his age, Giannis hasn't won a playoff series in 6 years. In his absolute prime in a really weak conference. So I just don't think that teams are willing to give up their entire future for this guy. And so what the Bucks got with Miami, it's not amazing. It's not inspiring. I just don't think it's offensive.
I mean, it's not inspiring. You just made it like it's the greatest trade in the history of trades. No.
They're gonna if you wanted to flip those guys,
round picks, you're basically like Giannis sucks. Like, this is the greatest trade ever.
No, I'm just saying that you could move. If they'd gotten 6 or 7 firsts and expiring salary, I think it would be viewed differently. Whereas I think that Tyler Herro will get a first. Yakashonis is a first, basically. So I don't think it's that bad. And also, I think that Miami's picks going forward, I do think they will be valuable in a way that I don't think picks from the Celtics really will be valuable. I just think that team has too high of a floor. So I'd rather be betting against Miami than betting against Boston in terms of draft.
I agree with that. A couple more minutes here with our friend Jay Croucher. There's nothing to disagree with. You're 100% right about that. Our friend Jay Croucher from NBC Sports. I'm going to create a scenario for you. Now, we don't know what the rest of Miami's roster is going to look like, obviously. But what I said yesterday on the show is, if you're going to trust, and look, obviously you trust OKC, you trust Ball, there are front offices you trust. Like, the Miami Heat have to be a front office that you, even if they don't get it right, you feel have some confidence in their ability to potentially get it right. So this requires a little projection. We get to the playoffs next year. Giannis is healthy. Bam's healthy. And Pat Riley has worked some magic. The Miami Heat are the blank best team in the Eastern Conference. Not for the game 1 through 82 in the postseason.
Yeah. Fifth, 6th. I think that type of range. I would take the playoffs.
Knicks and Celtics, then who else?
Yep, I'd take the Pistons over the Heat just because
of my man
Jaylen Duren, obviously. My man Jaylen Duren plays for that team, so obviously they're going to be better. No, I just think the aging curve of Cade, of Osar, of Jaylen Duren, the fact that this Herro thing might happen, I think it would be a perfect fit on that team. They're going to upgrade shooting. The Pistons were just a 60-win 1 seed, and all their best players are really young. I'm going to take that team over Miami. The reporting is that Norman Powell isn't coming back, so this Miami team, they don't really have many players who can shoot. They don't have many players who can pass. They don't have many players who can dribble. Those things are problems. They're going to be starting Davion Mitchell as the lead playmaker, and then depending on guys can they sign Anthony Simons to be their lead guard? This is the world that they're living in. I think this Giannis move is more about this team has a better chance to be a contending team a year from now when they can fix the roster a bit, because they gave absolutely everything they had in the cupboard to Milwaukee. So I just don't really see the kind of championship level upside for the team. I would take the Pacers upside. And I think that Miami, I would take them over these teams just because Giannis is that good. But I think they're going to be more in the world of the Orlandos, the Atlantas, the Torontos. Cleveland's a weird team, but I would take the Pacers, Pistons, Knicks, and Celtics over the Heat. Would you?
Who's going to win? In a playoff series, I would take in a playoff series, I would take Miami over Detroit and Miami over Cleveland. Not games 1 through 82. Indiana's a bit of a different story. The Knicks are a different story. We'll see what Boston. I know you think Jaylen Brown's the worst player in the league, but I still think he's pretty good. So I'm kidding. You don't think that. Who's going to win the World Cup?
England. I think England are going to win the World Cup.
Oh yeah, inspiring stuff yesterday against Ghana. That cost me a couple of bets. That was great.
Yeah, I think that yesterday, not an amazing performance, but they still had 19 shots to 2. They should have won that game if Harry Kane doesn't blaze it over the bar. Everyone's thinking about that game a lot differently. I don't know why Tuchel started Jed Spence over Nico O'Reilly. I think as they get into the knockout phases that Bukayo Saka is going to be starting over Noni Madueke. I think that just this team is extremely well drilled. I think Tuchel is the best manager in the tournament. It's very rare that you get a manager, in his absolute prime who is as credentialed as Tuchel is. A guy who's, won the Champions League, had great success in Europe, could walk into managing a team like Real Madrid tomorrow and no one would bat an eyelid. I think that just the combination of the talent on the team, the depth, the fact that Tuchel, I think it's a very good indicator that he left guys like Cole Palmer and Phil Foden at home because they didn't fit the system that he wanted to play, whereas Gareth Southgate just would have taken all the best names and tried to shove it in and make it work that way. So I think that England, their path should be okay, so assuming that the minus 700 gets home and they beat Panama to win the group. They should have a pretty easy round of 32 game. Mexico round of 16, at the Aztec is not going to be easy. But also England is just substantially better than Mexico.
England's better.
They should win that game.
And then I think England's better than Argentina, to be fair, also.
Yeah, and that's the side of the bracket they're likely going to be on, where their quarterfinal matchup is probably going to be Brazil in Miami, at a game that I will be at, by the way, Nick. So hoping for England-Brazil as the quarterfinal matchup there. And
how
then
do you
Argentina
work this out with your wife?
Side.
How do you work this out with your wife where you're like a globe-trotting job? You have 3 kids. How do you work this out? I need to talk to you offline about this. How do I talk to my wife to get to more things?
You stack up the equity and then you push the chips in for the big stuff. I'm not spending my equity chips with my wife to go to like Nets Hawks or something. I'm saving it for England, Brazil, and Miami. So that's the key. You just got to use it on the big stuff.
Final question. Better haul, the United States and the Louisiana Purchase, or the Milwaukee Bucks and what they got for Giannis?
Oh, it's very good. I don't love being on the side of like, oh yeah, the Bucks get a great deal. Let's go watch Tyler Herro.
You basically, you listening to you talk about this is the Herschel Walker trade.
Yeah. No, look, Miami gave up absolutely everything. The team's not going to be any good this year because they gave up absolutely everything they had in the cupboard to another team. Where I don't think the Bucks really had that much.
None of the players are great. They gave up everything from a team that won 43 games. They gave up not the best player, everybody else from a team that won 43 games last year and got bounced in the play-in.
Just wait till you see my boy Jakob Jonas. Also, Tyler Herro's in my stable of guys. Like, I'm a big Tyler Herro guy. I really like Tyler Herro. I think he's very underrated. I don't think he's going to do anything on the Bucks, but I think if he were on the team like the Pistons, that he would be extremely useful. And I think the Bucks
he'd be their closer, right? He'd be their closer, right? I mean, Cade obviously closes games, but I mean, when Cade gets double teamed, that's interesting. Now you put Tyler Herro on the Pistons, now we're talking. The best thing about betting, Nick, is that when you have a big bet on someone, you get to really learn the insides of their game. And so I had a lot on Tyler Herro, most improved player 2 seasons ago. So I was watching every Heat game, and it's like, oh, Tyler Herro has gotten really advanced as a passer and a playmaker, which you just wouldn't have these opinions unless you're watching every Heat game. Tyler Herro can take like 10 threes a game and make them at a really high rate, pulling up from 30 feet. Like, he is an outlier shooter. He's gotten a lot better as a passer. Defensively, he's a liability, and that's why he's not, an all-NBA player. But Tyler Herro is very good, and on the Pistons, he would be an incredible fit. I love how you're like, the best part of betting is you get to learn so much about these guys that you bet on. For me, the best part of betting is well, I was going to say, forget about the money. The best part for me of betting is when I click the button and I've got action.
Yeah, that's true. That is also a good feeling for sure.
And also,
you get to watch Tyler Herro.
Yeah, and then in a related story, we'll talk about Brendan Sorsby a little later in the show today. Great job as always, my friend. Appreciate it. At Croucher Jam, and that's not a joke. We will talk about Brendan Sorsby later. At Croucher JD on Twitter, NBC Sports. Thank you for the time. Stay well. Allez les bleus.
Yeah, allez les bleus. Yeah, absolutely.
I got it.
Absolument.
I got it wrong.
Yeah, pretty good. I understood what you were saying.
Droit à but, straight to the goal.
Droit à but. Yeah. Okay. Not as good. Your allez les bleus was better. Yeah,
we'll talk to you later, buddy. We'll talk to you later.
All right, see you, mate. Bye.
Are there any Jaylens on the French team or on the English soccer team that we can compare to Jaylen Brown and Jalen Duren and Jalen Brunson? Jay thinks Giannis and Jaylen Brown suck. Listen, Jay's the best. I'm having fun with him. His opinions are great. I love having him on the show.